Two matrices can be multiplied if and only if the number of columns in the first matrix is equal to the number of rows in the second matrix. Okay? When you multiply two matrices, when you multiply two matrices, the resulting matrix AB is an M by R matrix. So that comes from in the middle right there. The N's tell you if you can multiply it or not. That's the columns of the first matrix and the rows of the second matrix. They tell you whether or not you can do it. The rows of the first matrix and the columns of the second matrix tell you the dimensions. So, in these examples, you'll see what that means here. If you look at number 1, all right, what I like to say, the inner dimensions tell you you can do it. They're both 4s, okay? All right. The 7 and the 3 give you the dimensions of the resulting matrix after you multiply, okay? Number 2, the inner dimensions, they're both 5, okay? All right, again, the inner dimensions, the 5s tell you you can multiply those matrices. You can do it. The outer dimensions, the 3 and 8, when you multiply, those will be the resulting dimensions. Okay? 3, can you do it? Could you multiply those?
Yeah.
Yes. What would be the resulting dimensions? 2 by 6. Number 4, can you multiply those? No. The 2 and the 3, they're different numbers. You cannot multiply those. 5, can you multiply them?
Yeah.
Yes. And the resulting dimensions would be 1 by 1. 6. Can you multiply them? What would be the resulting dimensions? 9 by 9. Okay? All right, so remember, just like we said yesterday, the first number is the rows, the second number is the columns. Rows by columns. Rows by columns. Okay? Now what we'll get into next is when we multiply, we also multiply rows by columns. Everything is rows by columns. All right, what is it? I can't hear you. Again? Rows by columns. Rows by columns. Okay? The product of two matrices is found by multiplying. Finish the sentence. Rows and columns. All right, so, when you look on the sheet here, okay, we want to separate the matrices into rows and columns. We want to separate it into rows and columns. Every time we will do this so that it keeps our eyes focused and doesn't let them wander and get mixed up, okay? Go ahead and mark the rows and columns. All right. So you see the C11, C12, C21, C22. That's the 11 means the first row, first column. The 12 means the first row, second column. Okay? 21, second row, first column. The 22, second row, second column. All right, that's where the location goes. You'll see the pattern as we do this, okay? So we will multiply based on the order, okay? So first I'm going to do the first row by the first column. So I'll have 2 times 3, which gives me 6, plus -1 times 5, which gives me -5, okay? Next, all right, I'm going to multiply the first row by the second column. So I'm going to do 2 times -9, which gives me -18, plus -1 times 7, which gives me -7. All right. Now bottom left, I'm going to do second row, first column. So I'll do 3 times 3, gives me 9, plus 4 times 5 gives me 20. And then I'll do my second row by my second column. 3 times -9 is -27, plus 4 times 7 gives me 28. Okay. I'll add those up, and my answer will be 1, -25, 29, and 1. Okay. All right, second example here, okay? Right, they're not the same dimensions. It's not about whether or not the same dimensions. All right, this first matrix is 2 rows and 3 columns. The second matrix is 3 rows and 4 columns. So we can multiply them, and the resulting dimension will be a 2x4 matrix. Okay? So again, I'm going to separate into my rows and my columns just to help my eyes stay on track. Okay? So I'm going to do 2 times 1 is 2, plus 5 times 2 is 10, plus -2 times -5 is 10, okay? Again, we're multiplying the elements based on their order in the row and the column. For 1 by 1, 2 by 2, 3 by 3. Okay? Next, I'll have 2 times 3 is 6, plus 5 times -1 is -5, plus -2 times -3 is 6. Then I'll have 2 times -2 is -4, plus 5 times 10 is 50, plus -2 times 0 is 0. Okay? Love zeros. Last, I'm going to do 2 times 5 is 10, plus 5 times 4 is 20, plus -2 times 2 is -4. Okay? All right. So on the bottom, now I'm going to do my second row and first column. So I'll have 3 times 1 is 3, plus -1 times 2 is -2. And then I love this 0. All of them are going to be, the third thing we multiply will be 0 the whole time. Next, I'll have 3 times 3 is 9, plus -1 times -1 is 1. 0 times -3 is 0. 3 times -2 is -6, plus -1 times 10 is -10. Then 0 times 0 is 0. And then last, I'll have 3 times 5 is 15, plus -1 times 4, -4, and then 0 times 2 is 0. Okay? So I'll add them up, and I'll have 22, 7, 46, 26, 1, 10, -16, and 11. Yep. Rows by columns. All right, C, rows by columns. All right. Sorry, skipped a step. 2 by 2, 2 by 2. So our answer will be a 2 by 2. We'll go here, here, and here. Okay, so 2 times -1 gives me -2, plus 3 times 5 gives me 15. And then 2 times 4 gives me 8, plus 3 times -2 gives me -6. And I got 4 and -1 is -4, plus 1 times 5 is 5. And then 4 times 4 is 16, plus 1 times -2 is -2. Add them up and we get 13, 2, 1, 14. Okay. Try and do D. All right, for D, rows, columns. Again, they're 2 by 2, so our answer will be a 2 by 2. Okay. So we'll have -1 times 2 is -2, plus 4 times 4 is 16. -1 times 3 is -3, plus 4 times 1 is 4. 5 times 2 is 10, plus -2 times 4 is -8. And then 5 times 3 is 15, plus -2 times 1 is -2. So that will be 14, 1, 2, and 13. All right, so number 1, we can do it. The dimensions will be a 2 by 1. 3, we cannot do it. 5, we can do it. And our answer will be a 3x4 matrix. Okay? Number 2, we got 1 row, 2 columns, 2 rows, 1 column. So our answer is going to be 1 by 1. We got 3 times 2 is 6, plus 2 times 1 is 2. So that answer is 8. Number 9, 2 by 2, 2 by 1. So our answer will be 2 rows and 1 column. So I got 1 times 3 is 3, plus 3 times -2 is -6. Then I got -1 times 3 is -3, plus 1 times -2 is -2. So my answer will be -3, -5. 11, we got 1 row, 2 columns, and a 2 by 2. So our answer will be 1 row, 2 columns. Rows by columns. So I got -3 times 0. 1 row is 0, plus 4 times 2 is 8. -3 times -1 is 3, plus 4 times 2 is 8. So my answer there is 8, 11. 13 and 15, we got rows by columns. 3 rows, 1 column. 2 rows, 1 column, so we can't do it. All right. 15, 3 rows, 2 columns. 2 rows, 2 columns, so our answer will be a 3 by 2. Rows by columns. All right, so -4 times 3 gives me -12 plus 0. -4 times -3 gives me 12 plus 4 times 2 is 8. All right. -2 times 3, -6, plus 1 times 0 is 0. -2 times -3 is 6, plus 1 times 2 is 2. And then 2 times 3 is 6, plus 3 times 0 is 0. 2 times -3 is -6, plus 3 times 2 is 6. Okay. So that answer will be -12, 20, -6, 8, 6, 0. Okay.